I have been talking about how do we enter holidays without creating pressure and extra stress and just sort of giving ourselves the ease and grace that we need to so that we can, enjoy ourselves. Hey there, my sister, my friend. Welcome to the Dr. Tanya B podcast with me, Dr. Tanya B. I am here to help you be your best, most authentic self, your life, your way. We're going to talk everything self care, self love, mindset, and personal growth with a splash of hippie woo. I am proud of you for giving yourself this time today, so let's not waste time and let's dig in. I am here with Cynthia Brace, so health and mindset coach that I recently met as part of the Empower Her Self Care Summit that we did. And it turns out that we have just created this amazing friendship because we've got so much in common and so many similar beliefs and the things that we're doing to help women. So we just keep finding ways to come back together. So, Cynthia, I love that so much. And I appreciate that you're here with us tonight. And then what I want to just do is set us up for a little bit. So this is what we're doing for the month of November. I have been talking about how do we enter holidays without creating pressure and extra stress and just sort of giving ourselves the ease and grace that we need to so that we can, enjoy ourselves versus not. Because I think that as women, especially, we really put a lot of pressure on ourselves. We're trying to meet expectations that turns out were not even expectations that we needed to be considering. And so just the stress that comes along with that is not where we necessarily need to be or need to go. And so how do we reset that? How do we take some of the pressure off? How do we avoid burnout? And how do we just live through this a little bit more joyfully than maybe we had been going to do that? And so, the thing that I want to talk about today, and I'm just going to be real clear, Cynthia and I have been batting around the title for this, and I keep saying that I'm going to call it How to Not Treat Your Body Like an Asshole this holiday season. We're probably not going to call it that, but Cynthia, why don't we start with a little bit of just who you are, what you do, and then we'll come around to this whole topic for today.
Oh, Tanya, thanks so much for having me here. I just love talking to you. We have such a great time. Yeah, I'm Cynthia Brace, and I'm a health and mindset coach for women 35 plus. And, you know, I have had a journey myself. I think all of us who are in some kind of, health and, mindset, any kind of coaching, we've been through some stuff. And I had a time where, I wasn't really feeling well, and I went to my doctor and she wasn't able to help me. She actually said, there's nothing I can do for you. And that was really a turning point for me in my life. And I didn't have anything really crazy. I had hypoglycemia, which my blood sugar was going too low, and it was for an extended period of time. And most people have experienced that for sure,
Mhm.
but I was having a pretty extreme version of that, and I did not want to have that for the rest of my life. And I had no direction. I literally felt like, oh my God, I have no idea what to do here. What's going on?
Mhm. So true.
So yeah, and I think a lot of women experience that when they go to their doctor. I certainly have heard from my clients and people I talk to out in the world. They're like, well, I don't know where to go and I don't know what to do, and I'm frustrated, I'm confused. So I completely relate. At the time where I was in my first career as an interior designer, and I was like, oh, this is a problem. I need to be able to function.
Mhm.
And it was
Yeah.
hard to function, right? So I started taking classes at the naturopathic college and, reading books on this. And, I started my journey from that because I was really focused on my first career. I wasn't really thinking of changing anything. And, taking this, and this all of a sudden, I'm a person who loves to be in school. So this was my path.
Same. Yep, same. Turns out I don't know how that happened, but it happened.
Right? Right? Anyways. So from there, I actually, became friends with one of the teachers, and we took Reiki together, and holy moly, did my world
Changes
explode.
everything.
Oh, I just resonated with it. It felt like something that I was missing in my life. And I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, wow. So I just kept going. Took reflexology, and, you know, I was making changes in my life throughout this. And it was like all of these little things that I was doing, and my life had changed. My health had changed. Like it was all changing. So I kept going, and I took training to be a registered holistic nutritionist. And by the time I started, actually well before I started my first class, the hypoglycemia was gone, like totally changed my
How
life.
about that?
And my asthma and my allergies that I had, gone.
All
I was
gone.
literally taking allergy shots and allergy and asthma
Oh my gosh.
medication. Yeah, gone.
Yeah.
So I knew how much of a difference it made. And I'm like, I need to help people with this.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I continued on in my journey. And I actually was doing both design and this for quite some time. So it makes such a difference. And for me, it's just like, you don't have to suffer.
Right, right. We don't like, and I think there's so much to that, right? I just was talking to a client earlier today. We, I, our women's healthcare is just, it's a complete shit show. I don't I don't understand how we have gotten to this point where it is so difficult. But I do think that even beyond that, all healthcare has its limitations. I think that it is important and it is necessary, and there's so much information there that we have to use. But it's exactly what you're saying. There's so many times that somebody will go and they'll get a diagnosis or they'll get an understanding or they'll get a treatment. But that's it. That's the end of it. But that's your body's not done, your mind is not done, your soul is not done. There's still more work that has to happen there. And I think that you're exactly right that we've all been on some sort of journey, and that's
Yeah.
why we now specialize in the things that we do. And mine took me through postpartum depression and some similar health things along those lines. And so I just think that how amazing would it be if we could integrate those two
Yeah.
things rather than make them so separate and not as available as they could be for everyone if we were able to get past some of that. So
Yeah.
I love that. And I will tell you a similar journey, right? Like I do tons of trainings and like more healing modalities. I have lots of certifications. Reiki was not on my radar. My girlfriend wanted to do it. And I was like, sure, why not? I'll do that with you because that sounds awesome. I don't really understand what it is or why we're doing it, but I'll do it with you. And so we went to the class and I was like, whoa, I like that. There's definitely some stuff there. And then we stopped. We did our own thing with it. She did the class and kind of fell off of it, didn't really follow through with any of it because it just didn't resonate the way she thought that it was going to. But then for me, it's something that I totally picked up on and just have really leaned into and then continued to do additional trainings. So that's been fascinating just to watch how for the two of us. But where I started to go was after having done my first Reiki training, I am a different person. My body is a different body. My health is a different health. Like I am not working on myself in the same way that I was, but still working on myself and getting much, much better results than I had been
Yeah.
before. It's
I,
fascinating.
it really is. And, it goes with your interest because
Hmm.
the person that I went with, it didn't resonate with her either. And
Hmm.
and that's okay.
Yeah.
And I think it's nice to just open yourself up to things that
Hmm.
may resonate with you
Yeah.
because there's so many different tools that you can put in your toolbox.
Hmm.
Maybe Tai Chi or Qigong will,
Hmm.
resonate with you, or
Oh, I love
maybe
those
it's,
too.
I know, me too, right? We told you we had lots in common, everyone. But it's
Yeah.
there's so much out there, and
Hmm.
I get that we're all busy and everything, and that's kind of what we're talking about here. and
Hmm.
and that's the way I help people. It's not just about what you're eating and if you're exercising. It's not just about that. It
Hmm.
has to start in your head. It has
Yep.
to start, you have to get your brain on board, and you have
Yes.
to, it's like you're making this connection with brain and heart. And when you do that and move forward with your health and movement, I call it movement, not
Hmm.
exercise.
I do the same. Yeah.
So when you connect those and you move forward with that and with excitement and fun, then your whole life changes.
Hmm.
You're able to do these things and get to goals much easier,
Hmm.
and have your self-care and do your self-care in a way that you don't feel guilty.
Hmm.
So that's where you want to get to, and I think it's much more natural, and
Hmm.
you get into this ease and this flow, which is really where you want to be.
It's so true. And it comes down to mindset, right? Which is
Yeah.
exactly what both of us are very interested in teaching and talking about. So let's take that and lean right into like, how do
Yes.
we not be complete jerks over the holidays? Because one of the things, and this is a cycle that I was in for years and years and years, and I think that a lot of people still struggle with, is in order to be successful over the holidays and to feel good physically, I will do one of two things. I will restrict. I will create a regimen that is impossible to follow and it will not be sustainable. And so I'll be mad about it. I'll be miserable while I'm doing it. And then I probably will just fall off of the wagon at some point and then overindulge and make myself sick because I won't feel good. I'll have done too much. And so sometimes it it could include alcohol. It's mostly around food, but it could also include alcohol because I do that
Yeah.
sometimes too. I don't have it, don't have it, don't have it. And then, whoa, I just had way too much.
Yeah.
And so that's a thing like, how do we not restrict? And then the other side of it is if we are just going to go in whole hog and say, I'm not doing that. And then instead I spend my entire time just overindulging and
Right.
then not feeling well and coming out the other end 10 pounds heavier or whatever that
Yeah.
looks like. So how do we find a balance between those things?
I mean, what you're describing can happen at any time during the year.
Sure.
Certainly
Mhm.
at this time, it's much more prevalent because, you know, all of the treats are around and we have all of
Mhm.
these, holiday events and things are happening where you can indulge a little bit more. And sometimes you feel like you should because,
Mhm.
it's a treat, it's the holidays, I'm
Yep.
allowed
I'm
and
at this
or
party. I've been invited to this
yeah,
thing. This person
right.
gave me this. Yep. And so you
And
don't want
either
to
you're
say
going to
no.
that party thinking, I'm not allowed to have that,
Mhm.
or forget it, I'm just having it all,
Right.
right? Which really comes back to this diet culture mentality. It's
Yep.
really all it comes down to is we've been trained pretty much our whole lives through, TV and media and everything around us that in order to get to any kind of goal, I don't like to say weight loss, but I'll say
Mhm.
it. I like to,
Yeah.
get into your sexy jeans or whatever. Like it
Yep.
shouldn't really come down to weight. It's for me, it's health
Mhm.
first, then,
Mhm.
but any kind of weight loss goal, the only way to achieve that is to restrict yourself and exercise like a maniac, right?
Yep.
So that's what it kind of comes down to. And with this diet culture mentality is restrict, restrict, restrict until it gets to the point where you're like, this is too hard. I'm not going to do it. And because I've restricted myself so much, now I'm just going to go whole hog and just
Mhm.
have it all. And that's why people get into this yo-yo because, you do a diet for however long, 3 weeks, a month,
Mhm.
whatever,
2
2 weeks,
days,
2 days,
however you can
however
hold
long,
on.
right? But I think the longer you do it, the longer you restrict yourself, the more you're
Mhm.
going to flip back the other way,
Mhm.
right? So as you're saying, balance, when you're doing that, you're either going one way too far or the other way too far.
Yep.
That's why diets don't work.
And that's the yo-yo, right?
And
That's
that's the
exactly
yo-yo.
where that term came
Yeah,
from.
right.
Mhm.
Because you're going one way or the other, and then your weight fluctuates up or
Mhm.
down. How do we find balance? Anytime in the year, forget the diet because we
Mhm.
know it doesn't work. We know it,
Yep.
right? It's not you've taken today until however old you are to get to where you are in your health and in your weight. Okay? It's taken that long.
Good or for the good or
For good
worse.
or for however you're feeling, right?
Yep.
So to turn it back the other way and to, be at a more comfortable weight for you at this time in your life, whatever age you are, because that can be, you know, let's be kind to ourselves. We don't need
Mhm.
to look like a supermodel.
Mhm.
Okay, we just
Yeah,
need to
it's
be
not
comfortable
necessary.
in our body.
Yep. You wanna feel good.
So, yeah, and that's it. Feel good, be healthy. So, it's not going to take 2 weeks. Let's be real with ourselves. It's not going to take, so have that grace
Mhm.
and that love for yourself to say, okay, all
Mhm.
right, it's not going to take 2 weeks. So, how do I do this in a way that it's now going to be ease and flow in my life? So, getting back to the
Ease and flow.
balance
Yep.
is making it a part of your life. It's not I'm doing this diet and I'm doing air quotes right now. I'm
Uh-huh.
air quotes, I'm doing this diet. Would you like to do it with me? I need a friend. I needed somebody, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not what we want to do. We want to say, no, this is just what I do. This is just
Mhm.
my life,
Mhm.
right? So when we can get to that point, we can make different decisions, right? We can say, I'm going to this party and I decide to have this treat, this dish, this drink. That's my decision. I'm going to enjoy it. Go me.
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm not restricting and I'm not overindulging, right?
Yep.
Because you're not restricting, you don't feel the need to overindulge, right? That's where
Yeah.
it really comes from a lot of the time.
Right. The
The over
deprivation
and
of it all.
the deprivation, the
Mhm.
overindulgence also comes with feelings. I'm going to eat my feelings. I'm going to drink
Mhm.
my feelings, right? And a
Mhm.
lot of that happens around the holidays as well.
Mhm.
So it's really becoming aware of what am I feeling and, am I doing that? Which can be hard for a lot of people because some people it's they're not ready to kind of get in touch with that, it can be
Mhm.
a challenge.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
what, coaches are here to help, and maybe a therapist if some people need to talk to people. And
Mhm.
that I'm all for. I mean, so the overindulgence comes from I'm not getting what I need for me. This is not going the way I thought it would go. Oh my goodness, this family event just blew up or whatever. It comes from
Mhm.
this stress and it comes from all of
Yep.
these emotions and feelings.
Mhm.
So we have to be realistic with what's happening during the holidays because there's a lot, right? A lot of people have, all of these things happening.
Yeah. You're juggling, not only are you juggling yourself, your emotions, your family, like all of the responsibilities that you have, you're juggling the emotions of everybody around you, which is probably where a lot of this comes from, right? Mm.
And yes, but I again,
Mhm.
um we can't dictate what other people are feeling,
Mhm.
okay? We can
Mhm.
only come back to what we believe, think, and feel. That's the only things we can control.
Yep.
When we can control our thoughts and our feelings and our internal,
Mhm.
it's like having your child and your child is upset because they can't have a treat, right?
Mm.
Okay, you can't have that all the time. Like okay, you're gonna cry. Okay.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
gonna be a little bit upset for a little while, right? I can still control how I think and feel, right? So things happen outside of us, and those are situations, right? So this when the situation happens, it filters through us, right? It filters through our
Mhm.
ego system, our thoughts, our feelings, our beliefs, our emotions, and then it kind of comes out, right? After it filters through and it comes out either, you know,
Mhm.
is how you react in a good
Right.
way, a bad way, and a medium way,
Yep.
but it's becoming aware of like, oh, I'm feeling these things. I'm thinking these things. This is me doing this, right? So again, this is something that it really comes down to awareness, right?
Yep.
How am I going to react to this? And sometimes, let me tell you, react. Go make sure nobody's around, yell, scream, cry,
Yep.
your thing. You
Yep.
have to process those emotions or they're gonna
Mhm.
get stuck,
Mhm.
right? I'm not
Yep.
saying not feel the emotions. We are human, we should feel them
Mhm.
all.
Yep.
But, it all comes down to all of that, right? And we're talking about, how we're eating and if we're overindulging and underindulging, finding this balance. feeling our emotions is helping us find a balance too, because now we're
I love
aware of
that
them.
so much. Yeah, it's so true. I was actually another woman that I was talking with earlier today. I was like, remember, we are working on self-regulation, do your breathing, do this, do that." And she was like, "I'm going to just tell you, I found something that's working better for me." I was like, "Great. What is that?" I go in my car and I close the doors and I scream.
Yeah.
Okay, do it. She was like, "I should probably shouldn't." No, you should. I love that for you. If that makes you feel better at the end of the day, then go scream. If you want to go for a walk, if you want to punch a punching bag, like, doesn't matter. Do
Yeah.
whatever's going to work for you. Because
Yeah.
I think something that you said there, like, this, we eat our feelings. Like, that is a thing we do. Like, not just women, men do this too.
Oh
We
yeah.
eat our feelings. And so that, I think, brings us back to this thing that I talked about in last week's episode of who set your expectations, who decided what
Yeah.
those responsibilities are, what level you like, how great did the tree have to look, what did the presents have to look like underneath the tree, like needed to be on the table. You are the one 99% of the time that is setting that expectation. And so when you're not meeting that expectation, you're then creating the stress level, which is then creating you to cause you to eat your feelings, which we never needed to do. So it really just circles back to maybe we should take a look at
Yeah.
that again and reset those
It's
priorities.
Yeah, it's 100% because people do have these expectations, and usually it is, you're right. It's us
Mhm.
setting those expectations. Other people
Mhm.
don't, they don't like,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah. You
Really,
think
you
that's
did all
important?
that for us? And that's really,
We don't
really?
even care about that. My
Yeah.
mother-in-law, before she passed away, every year she made sure that there was homemade cranberry sauce on the table for me. Like, that was so important to her.
Yeah.
I hate cranberry sauce,
Oh
but
no.
she got it mixed up in her head with something else that I liked. And so never did I tell her. I just took it and said, "Thank you very much. I so appreciate that you'll do that for me," and put it on my husband's plate because it's disgusting.
Yeah.
But that was
Yeah.
important to her. And she
Yeah.
made sure, and she made a point every year to make sure that that was happening for me. And so one
Yeah.
more pressure that she did not need. And little did I tell her that I was never going to eat
Oh my
it.
goodness. And that's it, right? Like it's the holidays and we're trying to do
Yep.
even more
Hmm.
for the people that, are important to us and that we love. We're trying to do even that to make it special for them.
Right.
And I
Yep.
think that, if we really sit down and talk to them about it,
Hmm.
I think the most important thing to them is for you to be happy and for you to be happy together and have
Yep.
a nice connection.
You just took me to the second point that came out of that for me was communication.
Yeah.
Just talk about what do other people expect? And then what do
Mhm.
you need from other
Yeah.
people? Because if you will take some of that weight off of your own shoulders, chances are people want to help you. They just probably they don't feel like they can help you in a way that you're going to accept because if you're anything like me, you're a perfectionist and have to control the outcome. And so we have to let go of that and just let people do it the best that they can and be happy with
Yeah.
that. And then
Yeah.
again, it takes off that stress and that pressure so that you're not turning that back around in stress eating.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I talk about. Like when I'm with my clients, it's, if they have a partner, I'm always, saying to them once we start, I say, why don't you make them a part of the process? Let's make
Mhm.
them a part of the process. Just talk to them about what you're doing and what we're doing together. And like, just this is a part of your life. And these are the things that I'm doing. Just explain like, oh, i'm
Mhm.
i'm making these small changes and this is what I'm doing. And because I said they're with you for a reason,
Mhm.
you know they want to support you, they love you, even though
Mhm.
you might not feel it, right? Sometimes
Mhm.
they don't, are like, oh, I'm not so sure. I'm like, okay. And a lot of the times they'll come back and say, oh, it was really great, we had this really great conversation, we had this connection, and then it just continues.
Mhm. Once it starts, it snowballs.
And it's like it changes their life.
Mhm.
Even, I mean, what we're doing together changes their life too, but
Sure. Sure.
making it their partner and their family a part of it
Yeah.
is such a big component of that
Mhm.
change as well. And they just feel so much more, or I should say so much less stress, because they're not trying to
Yep.
hide what they're doing,
Yep.
and they feel so much more supported,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah. I think that's something I've gained. I don't, I want to say with maturity. I think maybe it's comfortability too. So
Yeah.
like as I've gotten more comfortable with myself, or maybe, once I hit 50, all the filters came off. I'm not I'm not sure what that is, but definitely for, the first 20 years of our marriage, I was managing all of the things, but also not talking about them and not saying
Yeah.
this is what I needed help with. And also not sharing, like, this is the path I'm currently on, and this is how I'm trying to eat, and this is how I'm trying, trying to set myself up in more successful ways. Instead, I was just trying to hide it or like sweep it under the carpet
Mhm.
and do it without that support. And that didn't ever work. And it wasn't until I was like, I don't really care what anybody thinks. My husband would never be not supportive, but I, for
Right.
some reason, didn't feel comfortable saying that. And so now that I'm like, this is what I'm doing, this is what works for me. You do you. I'm going to do me. If you don't like it, then do your own thing. If you don't like my dinner, make your own. If I don't like your dinner, I'll make my own. Like,
Yeah.
and like this week, we were getting groceries, and my teenage son that's still at the house is like, are you going to cook this week? I was like, yeah, probably not. Like, that's not a thing that I do, but do you want me to get something and you can make it? And he was like, yeah, can you get steaks? Yeah. You're going to make those for us? I'm happy to do that. So a little communication, and I'm getting steak for dinner one night this week.
Yeah. And that's all it is, right?
Yeah,
Make them a part of it. And then you all feel like you're more like a unit and a happier
exactly.
unit.
And supporting one another. Like
Right.
that's amazing. Yeah.
And I especially during the holidays. Again,
Mhm.
you start communicating about food and then know you're like, "Oh, so it opens it up to more things."
Right.
Holiday time, what are our expectations? What do we
Yeah.
want to do? My family and I, we start planning like a month ago. Like, when are we meeting? When are we getting
Mhm.
together? What are we doing?
Same.
Because
Mhm.
that's the ones I want to book first,
Mhm.
and then I book other things in between that I want to do. Because, there's only so many weekends,
Right.
and
Right.
I want some to myself.
Yes. Please, please, please. I need some to myself.
Right? So getting
Yeah.
back to the food portion and
Mhm.
balance,
Mhm.
right? It does come down to what we're doing every day. But, that takes a little bit of practice and how to, and that's really kind of what I help people with, because a lot of the times when you're, looking to like how to lose weight or how to have more energy or any kind of health challenge, if you look that up on the internet, one of the top things it's going to say is eat healthier.
And what does
And
that
you're
mean?
like, okay, what does that mean? How do I do that?
According to who? Because there are 100 definitions.
Right? And then most people will think, okay, that means a diet.
Mhm.
Diets make me eat healthier. I
Mhm.
It's just this connection that a lot of people make, which is not the case.
Yep.
Okay? You're restricting, and then we get into that yo-yo again. So we have to bring it back to like, how do I do this for me as Cynthia? How do I do this for me as Tanya?
Mhm.
Right? Because how I do it and how you do it are different.
Mhm.
We are
Yep.
different people. We like different food. We're going to eat
Mhm.
differently. Right? How
Yep.
much we're going to eat, when we're going to eat, all of these things. So it has to be an individual thing, right?
Mhm.
That's kind of what I help people with a lot of the time, with the mindset on top of it. It's coming back to like, how do I do this for me in a way that works, that flows in my life? And then you add in the movement and the stress and the sleep and everything else. So to get back into that balance again is to pull it back into your own life and give yourself permission
Mhm.
to
Yes.
eat in a way without rules, without
Mhm.
restrictions, in a way that feels good for you.
Mhm.
And then, a lot of the time, well, okay, the cravings just go away.
Right. They
I'm going to
do. It's
say
true.
they do,
It's true.
because when you start to eat in a way that actually gives your body the nourishment it needs,
Mhm. And you
you
have a
don't.
mindset that's healthy to go along with it.
Exactly,
Mhm.
exactly. You're like, I don't really. A lot of the people that I work with are like, I'm not snacking anymore. I just don't
Mhm.
feel like it. It's not necessary.
Yeah.
And then you're able to go out and enjoy and have those things. And I like to say, make the choice.
Mhm.
You want to have a treat? Absolutely.
Have a treat.
Have a treat. I'm dark chocolate woman. Like
Oh,
you,
same.
right?
Yeah. Yep.
Hands down, I'm giving myself permission. This is my treat. I love
Mhm.
dark chocolate and I'm not giving it up.
Mhm. Yep.
It's a part of my life. And if I restricted that, I know it would not go well.
And it's gonna manifest in something that is not as healthy as dark chocolate
Right.
and too much of it, and that's just
Right.
exactly how that works. So I'm curious about your take on this. So having raised 3 boys, they've all gone through their, like, sort of cycles of fitness, and one of the, like, inevitably, they want to start counting macros at one point in their life and adding this much protein and drinking, with some cases, a gallon of milk, depending on, like, what they were doing and who's
Hmm.
working on what.
Yeah.
And my youngest son is now working. He's joined an MMA gym, and so he's
Oh,
fighting a lot, and he's super
whoa.
fit. Like
Yeah.
that's been a coping skill for him for a long time, and I
Yeah.
love that for him.
Hmm.
But he will go through these cycles where he was like, I think I need to start counting macros. I don't think you do, kid. Like, I think what you need
Yeah.
to do is eat your vegetables 3 times a day
Yeah.
and throw in a fruit and make sure you have enough protein and then
Hmm.
eat whatever else you want. Like,
Yeah.
get some basics, make sure
Yeah.
you get your basics, and then enjoy whatever it else is that you would like to have
Yeah.
on top of that. What do you think about that as a standard?
Definitely.
Okay,
100%. I
cool.
think a lot of us need to get away from this
I'll tell him the
tracking.
expert said yes.
At his age and at that activity level, have at it. But no, yeah, what you're saying is true. And that's what that's what I talk about with people. If they're so ingrained with this diet culture mentality,
Mhm.
it can be more harmful to track
Yep.
than good, right?
Yep.
Like I want to know that you're getting enough calories, that you're
Mhm.
getting enough nutrients. I want to
Yep.
know that, but send me a picture of your plate. I don't
Mhm.
want you to track right now. I just want to see what it
Yep.
looks like
Yeah,
because
and I feel like that comes back to that whole restriction piece, right? Like,
yeah,
if I can't have this, then my mindset will be, I want it more, and then I've got this
right.
sort of cycle happening in the back of my brain that's going, "But I can't, but I can't, but I want, but I can't, but I want, I
Yep.
can't, but I want." So if I just say, vegetables are great for me, I'm going to start with vegetables, I'm going to start with protein, and then I'm going to add whatever it is that I want.
Mhm.
Eventually, I'm not, just like you were saying, those cravings are going to go away, and you're
Yeah.
just going to want the things that nourish your body. You'll want to drink the water. You'll want to,
Mhm.
have a little lemon in it, whatever floats your boat, but you'll figure
Yeah.
out what your body needs and wants.
Yeah, and yeah, we need to get away from this, as you're saying, that the
Mhm.
macros, because again, that is the diet culture, right?
Mhm.
Sure, at some point, sometimes you might want to track to see if for women,
Mhm.
35, 40 plus, we want to make sure that we're having enough protein because we
Yep.
want our bones to be strong and we lose protein, when our estrogen starts dropping and everything. So sometimes it's like, oh, am I getting enough? Let me just check,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
But we need to get to that point, right?
Right.
Let's
Right.
first look at our plate and say, and I like to do it over a day and sometimes even over two
Mhm.
days. Like, how
Mhm.
much vegetables did I have,
Mhm.
today? Did I have
Yeah.
enough vegetables or what did I eat? Was it all this? Was it all like bread and rice and everything? Did I forget my vegetables?
Mhm.
Was it too much? Like, so just like look at it over the course. And I always say to people, think of I know most people, it's like, okay, I'm going to have a meat and then something,
Right.
right? But I
Yeah.
always like to say, okay, have the meat. If you want to think of that first, great. But then you
Yep.
say, what vegetables am I having with it?
Mhm.
Right? We need to think about that because that's where we're getting our fiber and our vitamins
Mhm.
and our minerals and all of these great things that are going to make you feel good
Mhm.
and give your body what it needs. So if we're doing half of our plate in veggies and
Mhm.
our bit of protein and some carbohydrates and the rice or quinoa or whatever even potatoes, that's
Mhm.
one of my
Mhm.
favorites, hands up. But as long as you're like looking at your plate that way,
Yeah.
I'm
I
like
love it.
that,
I love it.
fruit,
Mhm.
water, you're good.
The fruit was one for me as I worked with a weight loss coach at one point. We'd done some allergy stuff because it turned out my body was not responding very well to a lot of foods. And so we had to figure
Hmm.
out, like, why and what. And then when it was time to start adding things back in, she was like, what treat do you want? And I was like, I haven't had a piece of fruit for 3 months. Like,
Oh my goodness.
because it was so high in sugar and it's high in carbs
Oh
and that's
no,
terrible for me. And
no.
that's the culture, right? So I was so
Yeah.
excited to add fruit back into my diet. And
Yeah.
so now that's just a standard. There is
Oh, yeah.
rarely a day that goes by that I don't get at least one piece of fruit in my body because it's delicious. And why shouldn't we enjoy that? Mm.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of people miss that. right?
Mhm.
I know I've had clients where they give it to their kids, but they forget to eat it themselves,
Right, right, and I was
right?
happy to have a Diet Pepsi, but I wouldn't
Oh,
have the banana because of the sugar, and you're like, "No, no, no. This is not
yeah,
the way this is supposed to be
yeah,
going."
absolutely. I think we just need to really be kind to ourselves
Yeah.
and give ourselves that grace
Mhm.
and know that we're not perfect,
Yep.
especially going through the holidays. None of us are perfect.
It's
And
never gonna happen.
it's never going to happen. Why would you want to? Why would you want to? It's so
Right,
stressful.
right. Yep, I
And
agree with that.
so just ditch those diet rules and as they're saying, just
Mhm,
get those fruits and veggies and protein and those carbs, healthy fats, you
mhm,
know, and enjoy your treats. If you've decided to have a drink or a treat, just give yourself that permission and enjoy it.
mhm.
And a lot of the times you're not overindulging. If you're aware of what you're doing and you're giving yourself permission, you
Mhm.
feel great about it. And you don't need to have the whole
Yeah.
plate.
I love that so much. I think that just summed up the entire conversation. Just get the basics and then enjoy yourself. And don't
Yeah.
overthink it. Don't overstress about it. That's just going to make it worse. I think that's
Mhm.
exactly what we needed to hear as we move into the holidays. And then we can take that with us as we move back out of the holidays instead
Yeah.
of joining a diet on January
Oh,
1st.
please
We're
don't do
just
that.
going, no, we're not doing that. We're just going to ease and grace, friends. You know, that is one of my favorite sayings. Give yourself some ease and grace. We're not going to be perfect. We're just going to do the best that we can.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And
Any other thoughts or things that you wanted to add to that, Cynthia?
yeah, just, I mean, take your time with it. When I'm working with people, everyone is at a different, level or position of what they know and what they need help with. So, give yourself that time to figure it out. Because as I say, it doesn't happen overnight, but when you do
Mhm.
and you start to figure it out that the way it works for you, it's so much easier.
It's almost too easy, isn't
It
it? Like, you
is.
feel like you're not doing it right because it's too easy.
Right. And you don't even realize the changes that are happening until
Mhm.
you sit down and like, oh my goodness, all of this, I have more energy. All of these things, I'm sleeping better. And you don't even realize it because it happens so naturally.
Yep.
And those are the things you want. You want to be happy and you want to have those things. So it's better to take the time to do that and figure it out for your life than to do the yo-yo, and so then
Mhm.
you'll be set up for all of the
Completely.
events.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I'll go back to you said earlier, setting realistic expectations.
Oh yeah.
If don't buy into the plan that says we're going to have this fixed in a week or 2 weeks or 30
Mm,
days, they're not going to do that. They're going to let
no.
you down. It's not realistic. It's not sustainable. So
Yeah.
do this in a natural, easy, progressive way that's going to last a lifetime.
Wonderful.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Cynthia. I really appreciate it.
Thanks.
So, how can people connect with you?
Oh yeah, my website is cynthiabrace.com. I also have a podcast as well, so you
Mhm.
can check that out on the website. I also have a free guide and mini course, 5 steps to more confidence and energy while losing weight for good. I had to put that in there because that's what
Mm,
people want.
yep.
But
Gets their
yeah,
attention. It'll happen too, but that's not the
it
priority.
happens, but yeah. So that's a free guided mini course, and that's on the website as well. So if anybody wants a free resource, I have that there for them. I'm on Instagram at Cynthia Brace, and I'm on Facebook as well. You can just get that all on my website.
Perfect. And I will also make sure that the link to all of those is in the notes. So thank you so
Thanks.
much for joining us today. As always, it was fantastic talking to you.
Thanks, Tanya. Always a great time.
Just like we've been talking about over the last couple of weeks, it is really important for you to not let the stress and the pressure of what is going on with the world and also just this time of the year and the stress of the holidays to steal your joy. So instead, how about we reclaim this as a time for empowerment and transformation? If you need help breaking that cycle, if you can't get past survival mode, how about you let me help? Book a Breathe and Break Free call to Calm the Crazy. I am here for you. And then if this episode resonated with you, please share it with a friend or leave a review. Thank you so much for joining me today. I love you. I'll talk to you soon.